establishing some boundaries so that it works out for the both of them rather than just for him.
That is such a good point. When there's a couple running the family, and one decides, okay, these are the rules for the house, but the other one hasn't bought in, what are the kids going to do? They're going to play against each other, right? Exactly. So both parents have to buy in for it to be effective, because as soon as the one parent says no, they're going to say, oh, well, later for you, because I'm going to go over there. You know? So don't let them play you against each other. Become a partnership together. And so when they hear no from mom, they're going to hear what from dad? No. Okay, anything else you want to hear about Sherry that hasn't been said that you would suggest? Yes, Mom.
It's evident that Sherry, she's a people pleaser. She obviously has to please everyone at all times. So Lau and I talked about how she can have some kind of boundary in her relationship with her friends, and I said that she should just limit herself. Obviously, you can't do something every week, but you can't do something every day of the week. So she should just have the courage to say, I'm available twice a week, or I'm available twice a month. She has to set kind of limits for herself, even though she's a people pleaser, because if she doesn't please herself first, obviously, you know, you love yourself, and you obviously need to have, she looks for some kind of validation everywhere, so she needs to give herself the validation. She needs to love herself and just say it's okay to say no. And it's okay to set boundaries.
Good, good, good. Excellent points. Thank you so much. Yes, Asher.
She has to learn to respect herself before she expects others to respect her.
Very good. Okay, let's move on to the boss. Who has some advice for Sherry with her boss? Now, this is her boss, okay? And he has a right to ask her he has a right to her time. But he's running over her time. Yes, my dear.
Maurice and I agree that maybe when the boss, when it comes to it, she can speak to him and tell him that she starts work from 9 o'clock to 4:30. And within those hours, she can do what he asks. But after 4:30, she has a family. She has to provide for a family. And that's the time limit that she has.
All right, all right. So you tell your boss, my time is yours between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. I'll do whatever you want me to do, but after that, my time belongs to my family. And stick to that, right?
Yeah.
All right. Very good. Anything else with the boss?
I just wanted to add that she should find, a comfortable time, maybe after work, when she should take it upon herself to stay after work, and then say, I really want to have a meeting with you, and then say exactly what, Michelle said, which is, I love working for you, for her to express it in a way so that he doesn't feel like, oh, she's telling me that she can't help me. Just really make it clear to him and then start to stick to it. So one day when he's running out and starts to say, oh, Sherry, would you do this? That's when she can say, Mr. Johnson, remember what we talked about? I'm really sorry, I really can't do it right now. So that he has a prior understanding that he's been, privy to, right? So he's like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna he'll hopefully will say, I'm sorry, all right, I'll see you tomorrow, or whatever.
Okay. Those are excellent suggestions. Should Sherry also consider that she might be fired?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And that's part of the process because you have to consider what might possibly happen.
Right.
And that's the risk you have to take to be able to define, to respect yourself,
Right.
to understand that, okay, you might be fired, and go with it, but that's the risk you have to take.
Okay.
We just very quickly, Diana and I also mentioned about how when you start to do this, whether it's giving people boundaries, they're not gonna like it. They're gonna hate it because they want you to go back to what you were, stay where you were, right? And so the courage to be consistent, to stay the course, and say, no, I'm sorry, I have a boundary. I have this, instruction, I'm going to keep to it, and they will fight you on it. But staying in the fight, so eventually, like Mauricio said, they'll adapt, or they'll just find someone else to latch onto.
Or they'll fire you. All
Or
three
they'll fire
could
you.
possibly
Right,
happen.
exactly.
Mauricio and then Diana.
One thing I don't hear that we've said before,
Yeah.
we were born in a rebellious world.
The world is rebellious.
It's the rebellious world. And we will encounter resistance from within and from without. The first thing we need to do is address it in prayer.
Prayer. Address it in
We
prayer.
need to bring the situation, we need to bring the
everything to God.
individuals before God in prayer, come against those strongholds.
Mhm.
From within first. Then those are surrounding us. We deal with it in prayer, then we address the individual.
Very good, very good. Deal with it in prayer and then address. All right. Yes, Jade. Oh, Diana first.
No, I was just gonna say biblically, I mean, she's a Christian, right? Because she's on, it's,
Yes, she's a Christian.
yeah, it's hinted that she's a Christian. Like, just kind of follow up, when you follow biblical standards, or you follow biblical scripture, like you said earlier, Jesus was always busy, but he was never rushed, he never said no when he felt yes, and vice versa. And it's guaranteed that she's going to feel opposition, but if she does the right thing in prayer and follows, biblical leading, then God is going to give her victory because that's his promise. It's more of, in all those situations, I think, like BB, let me cheat, she's more afraid of rejection, like afraid of not being there, and that's the trigger why she lets people walk all over her. She's afraid to say no. Once she her objective is to please God and not please everybody else, then everything turns around.
Yes. Yes. Diana?
Well,
Thank you, Jade.
Kind of what she's saying
Yeah.
is that some people don't know that something is not okay unless you say that it's not okay. Because you talk about boss,
Right.
I was kind of like her where I was always raised, you respect the authority and you don't say anything about it. So I was just laughing because my boss texted me last night. But I had to come to a point that I stopped answering her on the weekends. But I approached her and I addressed her first, but at first she didn't think anything was wrong with it because to her it's okay, it's not a big deal, it's just a quick message or whatever. And it wasn't until one day that she said something to me in a letter, and I never addressed anything to her ever, and I just kind of let her have it, but not in a disrespectful way, but she was so taken back. She says, I had no idea you felt this way. But it's because I myself didn't say, listen, I would appreciate if, when it comes to the weekends, not that I have a problem with it, but it is my family time or whatever. And then now when she texts, she'll go, I'm sorry to bother you or
She
whatever.
still does it.
But she still does it. Whatever.
But now she knows.
But she
right?
knows, right. Yeah, I just don't answer.
Yes.
And I'm a little, and it eats me up because I know the answer to a question, but it's just,
It's the principle of the
Right.
thing. Don't give in. Because the minute you are not consistent, she's like, all I gotta do is bug her and she'll answer.
Exactly.
Anybody else on, okay, let's deal with Walt. Walt, her, leave me alone, take care of the situation, and I got enough to deal with, and I work and I bring home the money, so what do you have to complain about? What do we say about Walt? And whether he's properly partnering with her to take care of this family?
Is that a question?
Yes.
No, it's not properly partnering with her.
Is he properly partnering with her with this family?
No.
Does he not feel like he does his part, right? Because it says that he brings home money, he takes care of this family, he supports them financially. And he comes home every night, right? Yeah, she supports him, but he feels that he probably more than likely he makes more money. And when he gets home from a tiring day, he just wants her to take care of the things and leave him alone so that, he's a good husband, faithful. Yes, Mauricio.
Is he also saved?
Yes, he's saved. So you're saying an unsaved husband would not act like this,
No,
huh?
I'm just asking.
Is that true,
No,
Vivi? Do
no.
unsaved husbands not act like that?
No, I'm just asking, is he saved?
Yes, he knows the Lord.
He knows the Lord.
Mhm.
To begin with, all right, Michelle and I were discussing because we had a conversation with Lou and Julie at one point, and they were discussing the fact that you each, someone mentioned before, you have to have some time out for yourself. You know, you each need that time out, but also you have to understand, like someone else mentioned before, that this is Michael, I believe, it's a partnership. And yes, we both have responsibilities, but there comes a time where we have to realize, okay, how will this work best? Is it working best this way? Obviously not. So what can we do now to make sure that it works for all?
Have all you couples, especially you recently married couples, have y'all determined, did y'all sit down and, just didn't assume, but really, really determined that this is how our family life is going to work? Even you old married couples, did y'all just sort of like figure it out as you went along? Or did y'all just have a good conversation? Yes, Diana.
We had a conversation because we're a blended family. So we had to have a conversation before even thinking about marriage, because second marriages, most of the time, they
fall apart.
So we did, but other things always come up, and then we just kind of address them. But we laid a foundation, but there's always something that creeps in, and we have to like readdress or just reaffirm, okay, this is what's going to happen or whatever. But we did.
Good. Yes,
What
seasoned married couple.
Okay, when Maurice and I met, first thing we did before we got married was we went to counseling. And through that counseling, I learned that he comes from a different background and I come from a different background. Like his background may be, I empty the garbage. And in my background, I believe in mending. So we had to come through counseling and know what was the difference between both of us and how we could run it together.
When you say you believe the men should do and he believed the women should do,
Right.
do what?
Empty the garbage. Let's just say
Empty the garbage. So he came from a background where the women took care of the household.
Right.
And you came from a background where the men did things like take out the
Right.
garbage.
Well, I'm just saying like garbage for instance, right?
Okay.
Anybody's just a garbage. So when we came through counseling, this
Is
is
that a gender thing?
No, that's just one of the things, like cleaning the window, washing the windows and stuff like that, just doing a natural thing. But doing the counseling beforehand helps us a lot to come as one.
Right.
Instead of me thinking, oh, how come we didn't do the garbage? I'm just thinking, well, how come she didn't do it?
How come she didn't?
Right. So with the counseling, it helped us to learn to put things as perspective. Like, he does the garbage, or we both can do the garbage.
Right. Or the kids can do the garbage.
Right. we had to learn that because he came from a different background and I came from a different background, and his rules are not exactly mine. So that's one of the things that we had to look at.
I do understand that there are some men who are in a culture that believe that everything they do outside, they are the men and they're responsible for what goes on outside to take care of the family. But once they get inside the door, the wife takes care of everything, including him. That's not anybody here, right?
No. On behalf of the men, the machistas.
Yes.
I was brought up by my grandmother, so she taught me all the things that a woman does.
Right.
So when we got married, I cleaned, I would cook, I would clean, bake or whatever, wash. I didn't do windows, we didn't have any to do.
Are you the typical man?
No.
I didn't want to say no.
He said he did his
What's a
part.
typical man?
But they seem to know who they are when they get in a relationship, right? What they take and what they don't want to take. Carolyn?
I think that, well, what's her name again, the young lady?
Sherry.
It sounds like Sherry is already at the end of her rope, that she's 1 second away from just jumping. So that just makes it an emergency situation. So doing all of this stuff, starting in the beginning and working through, that's already gone. And I think that, like we're asking saved, unsaved, I think there has to be an answer for a person whether they're saved or not. Because this lady is getting ready to do something to herself. The answer for her, I think, could possibly be she has to find out who she is and what it is that she will and will not allow in her life. She has to address that with the people that is happening to her through. And even though it's her husband and he's doing good things for the family and everything, she has to set up boundaries with him and everybody else. Sometimes it gotta get worse before it gets better, and these things gotta stop before she does take that lead. And she's gotta set her boundaries, try to stick to them, and whatever happens, happens, because whatever happens can't be worse than her taking that lead.
That's right.
Right, right. Thank you all for setting.
You're supposed to add one last thing that Sherry is enabling. She's enabling all of them to do this to her. You know, she's an enabler. We just wanted to add one.
She sees it as being spiritual, Christian, loving, and supportive.
Just enabling.
Oh, oh my gosh. Where's the mercy and grace in here? Yes,
I
Diane.
used to be that way. It was horrible. I used to please everybody. Everybody was happy except me. And when I came to the Lord and I read that book with boundaries and the messages,
Yes.
I learned that I cannot do that. And now my no is no and my yes is yes. I have to. I have to balance it because I'm only one person.
Right, right. And that came with what many of you have been saying. You started to care about yourself.
Exactly.
That's good, guys. But remember, she is facing her biggest fears. Her biggest fear is rejection and abandonment. So you might have people in your life, nobody in here struggles with that. But you may have people in your life who are really, you know, they may know all this. But knowing and doing are two different things. So you might have to have compassion and patience while somebody goes through the process. They may be like a Lois calling you over and over again with crises after crises after crises, and you saying over and over again, but I told you. All you got to do is, and it's because fear can get such a grip on your heart, and you don't want to lose people, and you're terrified. And besides, it's not that big a deal anyway, you know? You'll talk yourself out of it. Yes, Michael?
But I think, like as Mauricio said, that if she really wants to make that change, she'll pray before she does anything. And she'll look to God, and in his own time, he'll give her the answer eventually.
Yes, yes. I totally agree. Does anybody have anything else they want to say before we move on about relationship rules for sharing? Because you guys, give yourselves a hand. I mean, you guys really. So we shouldn't expect any of you to be in Pastor Vinny's counseling office. Nobody will listen to me. What happened to that message you heard on May 5th? But good things. And for those of you who are getting ready to start out in relationships, know that you got to establish some boundaries. And what time is it?
123.
Oh, okay, maybe it's not this. Another thing about boundaries. God has made us all wonderful. We're full of talents and gifts and skills and abilities. But each of us has a unique personality. And our personality has strengths and it has weaknesses. And how this relates to boundaries is, when you are in your personality strength, you are blessing people, you're helping people, you're being very useful. But when you're in your personality weakness, you're stressing everybody out. And you say, well, what do you mean? Counselors will say there are four main personalities. I think there's a choleric, a sanguine, phlegmatic, and supine. And all of them have strengths and they have weaknesses. Take for instance the choleric. I'm choleric, if anybody didn't know. Pastor Vinny is choleric, if anybody didn't know. So you have two cholerics in the church. And what do cholerics do in their strength? They make it happen. Make it happen. What do cholerics do in their weakness? I don't care what you're dealing with. I need you. We push. I call it being persuasive. You may call it being pushy. That's because we're right. All the time. So that's our strength, is that you give a choleric something, it's going to happen. You give a choleric something, and their weakness in their personality is they're going to run roughshod. Pastor, I gotta. All right, soldier. I just need to get the project done. So you know you're a choleric personality. What do you have to be sensitive about?
Other people's boundaries.
You have to be sensitive about other people's boundaries. This is not to say that the choleric is wrong. Because don't things have to get done?
Yeah.
Don't they?
Yeah.
But it's how you do it. So all of you have personalities. And it's not that you're wrong, it's how you do it. If you're a very outgoing person, you love to encourage people, that's great. But do you know people who love to encourage and inspire also love to talk and gossip?
Which one's love?
Yes. And there are people who love to learn. They love knowledge. Always buying books and things like that, and send you apps for this and Facebook you on this demonstration and everything. But people who love to learn deal with a lot of pride because they have a lot of knowledge. And it says, knowledge puffs up. People who are spontaneous, oh, let's go over here, let's do this, you know. And they're fun-loving and adventurous. They struggle with impulse control. People who like to get things done, they call us cholerics, but there also is another name called reformers. We get things done. They have high standards of excellence. They hate flaws in people. They can be perfectionistic. Could you move the light just a little? Do you see that string over there? It's crooked. I can't focus on the whole program because that's it's driving me crazy. Servers, they love to be needed. They're good at taking care of people, but they can be needy. They love to be needed so that they are always needed. And they suffer with low self-esteem. And they may never say to you, I wish you would say you love me and you appreciate me. They'll never say it, but they'll feel it. And if you don't say it, they'll be resentful of it. Artists, they love beauty and they want to be unique. And they express themselves in bold and creative ways. And they bring color and style and beauty to the world. And they're incredibly sensitive souls. But because they're so sensitive to everything, they have these mood swings. And they're up and they're down. I don't know how I feel today. Let me check in. I don't know if I want to show up because I'm just having a mood. the world. But they are temperamental. Sometimes they're here. Sometimes they get you feel like they're a flake. You know, they're here and they're hard into it. And then, whew, I need a moment. And then they're gone. You're like, what happened to all the beauty and creativity? The choleric is saying, finish the job. So anyway, guys, your personality has strength and it has weaknesses. Again, it goes back to what Carolyn and Conchita and Diane and all of you were saying. You got to know yourself, because there are parts of you that are beautiful and strong, and we need those. But there are also parts of you that you got to manage a little better, because we're a community, and you operate as part of a team of people, a community of people, a family. Even if you're single, you're part of this church. You're part of your own natural family. And your personality has strengths and it has weaknesses. So you got to know when you're in one of those places and just say, you know, just give me a moment. I'll be back. I'll be back. So I'm giving you 2 assignments this week that I really encourage you to do. Number 1 is to spend some time with God, asking Him who you are, who He's made you to be. And then ask Him to set priorities in your life. What Mauricio was saying, spend time with God and pray and ask Him for direction. The next thing I want you to do is to think about the relationship rules that you have going on in your life. Do you need to add to some of the rules that you have put in place? Do you need to put some rules in place? Are there some relationships that you're letting them cross lots of boundary lines? You love them and you're not putting up limits. And God, you know, all of you know when somebody asks you to do something and there's just this little hesitation inside. There's a little check. But you disobeyed that little check because of who's asking you, and you say, well, it's just, you poo-poo whatever is in your thoughts, oh, get over it, you're stressing unnecessarily, they're only asking you to do, and you talk yourself out of protecting yourself and respecting your boundaries. I want you to think of one relationship rule that you need to put in place with somebody significant in your life, that you've been allowing them to sort of blur the lines with. Can you guys do that? Yes. Amen. The worship team can come up. The greatest relationship rules ever written is in 1 Corinthians 13. And I found this little poem version of it. I love poems. That's part of my personality. Love is patient, love is kind, but so much more as we will find. It does not envy or boast and is not proud. If it were the heart, it would cloud. Love does not dishonor and isn't self-seeking. And when Paul wrote this, it was the Holy Spirit speaking. Love is not easily provoked and does not keep record of wrong. Instead, it joins people together and makes their relationship strong. Love does not delight in evil, but in truth it does rejoice in honor of love. Let's lift up our voice. Love always protects, trusts, hopes, and perseveres. We're even told that it casts out fears. Prophecies, tongues, and knowledge are said to pass away. Love, however, will always be here to stay. Amen. Amen.